Order, order. Before proceedings begin on the urgent question, I wish to make it clear that I am once again waiving the provisions of the sub judice resolution in relation to this matter to allow members to be able to discuss fully the issues of national importance. I now come to the urgent question. Kevin Hollinrake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I first congratulate you on your re-election, Mr. Speaker? And thank you for granting this urgent question, which is to ask the Secretary of State for Business and Trade if he will make a statement on financial redress for sub-postmasters and outstanding issues relating to the Post Office Horizon scandal.
Justin Battles.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I also, first of all, congratulate the Shadow Secretary of State on his new position and congratulate him on securing the first urgent question of this Parliament. Honourable members will know that it is a key manifesto commitment of this government to ensure that justice and compensation are delivered as swiftly as possible for every postmaster caught up in the Horizon scandal. The Secretary of State has already met with Sir Alan Bates, Kevin Jones and the Chair of the Post Office, Nigel Railton, to discuss the progress being made and what more can be done. The Government intends to make a significant announcement on the new redress scheme before the summer recess. This scheme will apply to postmasters whose convictions have been overturned by the Post Office Horizon System Offences Act, passed in the last Parliament.
Right. Shadow Minister Kevin Hollinrake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, can I also welcome him to his role and say in all sincerity, I wish him the very best of luck. We on the opposition benches, in the national interest, wish the government to succeed. It is vital his department succeeds in their brief. When British businesses do well, we all do well. I hope the nature of this urgent question, a matter on which the House has been in agreement, will set us off on the right foot of working together in the national interest. That, of course, is the matter of compensation for sub-postmasters affected by the Horizon scandal. The House will know, as the previous Post Office Minister, of my commitment to this issue, but also the commitment of my entire party to the individuals who had their lives torn apart by this scandal. It is right the Post Office Horizon System Offences Act received royal assent during wash-up and quashed the convictions of hundreds of affected postmasters. But the Honourable Gentleman will know that the Act itself does not provide compensation, which is why, alongside the legislation, we announced plans for a new Horizon Convictions Redress Scheme. This scheme will make compensation payments to those who have had these convictions quashed by the bill. In Government, we ensured royal assent was achieved as soon as possible, so there is no gap to the availability of compensation. It is only right that postmasters have access to swift and fair compensation, which is why we overturn those convictions, who have the option of immediately taking a fixed and final offer of £600,000. It is also why in Government we changed the rules for those in the Horizon Shortfall Scheme, so they are entitled to a £75,000 fixed sum award, bypassing the assessment process. And that's all full and final settlements below that figure would be automatically topped up. And that an appeal process for those in the HSS also being considered. While I am pleased that as of the 31st of May, approximately £222 million has been paid to over 2,800 claimants across the scheme, I must push the Government for more detail on when redress payments set out by the Horizon Convictions Redress Scheme can be expected. We were told this was by July. I'd also note that the Department of Business and Trade would said it would continue to work on the new Horizon Convictions Scheme. Could I ask the Honourable Gentleman, when will the scheme be up and running? Can I also ask him when he expects the £75,000 top-ups and the appeal process for the HSS will also be implemented and the victims contacted to that effect? And when can I ask him also when he will continue to open the scheme and announce a date for full compensation for the Horizon Convictions Redress Scheme?
Just before we do, can I just gently say to the Chamber, it's a new beginning, but we want to start on the right foot, not the wrong foot. And just to say, it's difficult to go from government to opposition without clearly explaining that it is a 2-minute limit for the opposition and a 1 minute for the party below. And of course, we now come to the Minister to respond. So please, let's stick to the rules and let's go as we mean to go on. Justin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I think the Shadow Secretary of State set out really, I think, the intent that he's had in government, which we intend to carry on. We also intend to work cross-party. We believe that there's absolutely no reason why that should not continue, because we absolutely agree with him that the importance of delivering fast and fair compensation is at the heart of all we are trying to achieve here. We will be making a statement by the end of July, by the end of the summer recess, which, as the Shadow Secretary of State has already noted, is what we've committed to. We are working at pace with officials and those victims who are affected by the scheme to work up the detail, and an announcement will be made in due course.
John Trickett.
Thank you very much, sir. It's good to see you back in your place. And the new minister will recall the old saying that a new broom sweeps clean. And I'm sure you'll make progress very quickly indeed. But the post office scandal reveals a wider problem, it seems to me, of British society, whether it's Orkney, Grenfell, contaminated blood, or the problems at Hemsworth. The British establishment seems incapable of listening to the voices of ordinary people. Will you raise this matter with other ministers and see whether there's a way of this government ensuring that that isn't repeated in the future?
Minister.
I thank the right honourable friend for his question. He raises a very interesting point, and I think this is something that we've all reflected on as members over recent years. I think there is a question of political accountability for decisions that are taken and actions and inactions that take place over many years, and certainly we will be reflecting on how best to make sure that there is genuine political accountability in this system.
We now come to Lib Dem spokesperson Alistair Carmichael.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I also welcome you back to your place and say that it is a genuine pleasure for me as the Liberal Democrat spokesperson to be addressing the House on behalf of the third largest political grouping. My party will use the privilege of this position, Mr. Speaker, to hold the Government and Ministers to account. We will not be using it simply to stoke division and manufacture grievance. That is what the people of the United Kingdom and Scotland in particular voted for. At the heart of the Horizon scandal, though, there was a culture which, at the centre of the organisation, failed to respect the work that was being done by sub-postmasters at the front line. When the Minister and the Secretary of State meet with the Chief Executive of Post Office, what evidence are they seeing that that culture has actually changed?
Minister.
Well, I don't know if the right honourable member is aware, but the current CEO has actually stepped aside for a brief period to concentrate on the inquiry, and I think that those questions, those very important questions that he's raised, will be things that we will be reflecting on over the coming months, particularly when the outcome of the inquiry is known.
Gareth Snell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Further to the point from my honourable friend from Hemsworth and Normanton, could I ask the Minister what role he thinks this government could find for third-party organisations such as Whistleblowers UK, or those organisations that work with people that are highlighting these scandals? Because, as was pointed out, this was a systematic failure across government and across society, and we cannot simply allow it to happen again.
Minister.
I thank my honourable friend for his question. My understanding is the last government actually did undertake a consultation on whistleblowing, and we are reflecting on the outcome of that, but also the very important point that he raises across a whole range of bodies in this country. Whistleblowers haven't been heard, and we absolutely need to consider whether the current legislation is giving them sufficient confidence that they actually can speak out and actually that their actions and concerns are addressed.
David Mundell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and many congratulations on your re-election, and I congratulate the Minister on his appointment. I know he's genuinely committed to promoting British business at home and abroad. But is he aware of a serious issue flowing from the Horizon scandal that is now affecting current postmasters, in that some members of the public, in order to express their disgust at what has happened in relation to Horizon, are not using the Post Office in the way that they did previously? And will he and the Government commit to promote the view that the Post Office is safe to use because the scandal has been resolved and is good to use for the community?
Minister.
I thank the right honourable member for his question. I'm very concerned to hear of those incidents happening. I think it should go without saying that the postmasters are not the ones who should take the opprobrium of the public on this matter at all. They are doing a fantastic job. They hold communities together. They provide a public service, and we should absolutely celebrate and encourage people to use their facilities as much as possible. And if there are specific examples that he's got of where postmasters have received abuse or discouragement to use their services because of this scandal, then I'd be very interested to hear more about it.
Caroline Dowes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is indeed a delight to see you back in the chair. Can I ask the Minister, there were many sub-postmasters and mistresses who were not convicted, but seriously out of pocket due to the shortfalls that they themselves made up, deeply traumatised by the experience they went through. And can he provide reassurance that the department will seek to make sure that they are supported, that the compensation scheme is swift and effective, but also very straightforward for them?
Minister.
I thank the right honourable member for a question. I think those are really the principles that we want to address and carry on with that the previous government did, which this is a fair system, it's a swift system, it's a simple system. We know that postmasters have already gone through an incredibly difficult time. We don't want to make it even harder by having a convoluted system, and we absolutely agree that justice should be fair, it should be quick, and it should be complete and straightforward for people. So we absolutely agree with those principles.
Okay, Maltos.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Beyond compensation, one of the most important things that campaigners are looking for is consequences for those people who played a part in the creation of this scandal. Given that the Prime Minister has made much about integrity and accountability for his government, presumably that is retrospective, what consequence does the Minister envisage for those current serving government ministers who are deemed by the inquiry to be negligent in their conduct in ministerial office in the past?
Minister.
Well, that's a very important question. I think it would be premature for us to be making conclusions before the inquiry has been completed, but I absolutely think we should be looking very carefully at all those individuals who have unfortunately led to the scandal happening and taking far too long to address. And I think that's for the inquiry to make recommendations on, and certainly we will be looking very, very clearly to follow those up.
Jim Shannon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I welcome the Minister to his place? And I know when the backbenchers, when he was in this side of the chamber, he was vociferous in this issue. So I've absolutely no doubt that when it comes to delivering on this, the Minister will do just that. There are some 26 postmasters who are implicated by the scandal in Northern Ireland, and they are worried and concerned. So can I ask this question? It is imperative that all postmasters feel that they can have an open and frank discussion with no fear of repercussion in the upcoming investigations, and there can be no further unwarranted delays either. So can the Minister confirm that this is a priority, making sure that postmasters have access at every level to ensure that their concerns are addressed, and that every effort can be made by the Minister to bring about the right step forward in the right direction? Mr. Speaker, thank you so much.
Minister.
Well,
why you should have come last. Come on, Minister.
What a surprise to see the honourable member here today. I'm sure this won't be the last time we have an exchange across the dispatch box, but of course he raises a very important point, and we absolutely agree that we need to make this as easy as possible for postmasters to raise their concerns and to get the justice that they've so long been waiting for.
Richard Holden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and congratulations on your return to your place and to the Minister for taking up his appointment. Compensation is one part of this, but also as people like Betty, who I met, who are victims of this scandal, what they really want to see is truth and accountability, not just for ministers, as my honourable friend, right honourable friend said, but actually for those involved in the scandal. What can the Minister say to those people in the Post Office, and what will he say? What can he say to people like Betty, who want to see those responsible within the Post Office being held to account properly, as well as that compensation for their suffering?
Minister.
I thank the honourable member for his question. It's a very important point, because justice is one side of the coin, but also accountability for what has happened here is really what a lot of people also want to see, and not just those directly affected. I think that everyone has been absolutely outraged by the years of inertia and obfuscation that we've seen in this scandal, and that is the purpose of the inquiry, to get to the heart of who knew what, who did what, who didn't do what they should have done, and whether individuals should take some responsibility for their actions. I've no doubt that when those recommendations are released, we will want to be seeing some very swift action off the back of that.
Andrew George.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was privileged to be one of those MPs who, a decade ago, was working with the now Lord Arbuthnot campaigning on this issue in Parliament, and certainly on behalf of cases within my own constituency as well, people who were treated appallingly, and of course they've not received compensation yet. So my question to the Minister is, if there's going to be any kind of delay in any compensation to those who have suffered in the way that they have, is there any way in which some early and indeed interim payments can be made to those who clearly do deserve the support now and before too long?
Minister.
Thank the honourable member for his question and join him in praising Lord Arbuthnot's work in this area. As of the 31st of May, £222 million has already been paid out in compensation. There have actually been significant interim payments as well, because we understand that whilst this is a very large scheme, it's important that we get early payments. So I can assure the honourable member that interim payments are a very large part of this programme.
Dr. Kieran.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The legislation we passed was a blanket measure. It might be clear to us who is or isn't included, but for the individuals affected, it won't necessarily be clear. Could you update the House on the progress that's been made to identify them and write to them to confirm that their convictions have been quashed?
Minister.
Thank the honourable member for his question. It's a very important one. We have been working closely with colleagues in the Ministry of Justice to identify those people who are affected by the legislation, and they will be contacted in due course if they haven't been already.
That completes the urgent question. Front bench changeover.